Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Cocktails After Dark. Today we're going to do a simple 2-ingredient cocktail, but you can see I've got a lot of cocktail books out here because it's not that simple. We're going to do a cocktail called the Zaza, or that starts out as the Zaza. And most historians attribute the name to a French play that was first put on in 1898, 1899, that was later mounted in the United States in sort of the same time period, that then spawned a bunch of movies starting in like 1913, 1914. I've never seen the play or the movies, so I don't know the reference of whether this drink sort of appears in the play or not. Who knows? If you know, let us know down in the comments. So I started looking for this cocktail in my cocktail book collection, and I came across it in this cocktail book from 1906 called Lewis's Mixed Drinks. And then that's the earliest I found it in my collection. And then I went back to the EUVS collection and a couple of other university collections that have cocktails. And I was not able to find it in any cocktail book earlier than this one, 1906. But it could exist. And if you know of a cocktail book from before then, let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to find that book and see what the cocktail is like. Now, this cocktail starts out as the Zaza, and as it morphs over time, it just starts to be called a Dubonnet and Gin, because those are the two main ingredients. It's kind of like the Cuba Libre. Guy comes into a bar now and asks for a Cuba Libre. Everybody rolls their eyes because what he wants is a rum and Coke. So this cocktail is sort of like that. It morphs over time, and we're going to look at some of those morphs. And we're going to start with this one in the 1906 book. So this one starts out with 2 dashes of orange bitters, and there we go. That one, the dasher on this one doesn't work very well. And you know, a dash isn't an exact amount. As much as people try to say that it's an exact amount, it isn't. It's sort of here or there. Now, this one, because it is the first one that I found, it asks for quinquina. Now, quinquina is the category. Dubonnet is a brand within the category. And in 1906, there would have been dozens and dozens of quinquinas on the market. So what Lewis has done here is given you, the maker of the drink, the opportunity, the choice to use a quinquina that you really like. Today, in today's marketplace, really Dubonnet is, you know, de facto really the only one that is widely available. It is not the only quinquina, but it is the one that is widely available. Other ones that you can consider are beer. If you can get your hands on this, it's called beer. It is really good. And there's an argument to be made that this one, Cochi Rosa, is a quinquina because it does contain cinchona bark, but that is up for argument. So I'm going to leave this one out. We're not going to use it, but I am going to use the beer. So it is 1 measure of quinquina and 2 measures of London dry gin. And so contemporary versions of this recipe are 1-to-1 usually, and we're going to see that with the next recipe. And that is from this book simply called Drinks. This one was published in 1914, and it has the Zaza cocktail in it. And the Zaza in this one is 1-to-1 gin Dubonnet with a dash of Angostura. So I'm going to use Dubonnet, an equal amount of gin, and this one gets 1 dash of Angostura, and I should have put the Angostura in first. So now, the first cocktail very clearly says to stir it with ice. This book gives no instructions whatsoever on how to make it. The third cocktail that we're going to make, again, still the Zaza, is from this cocktail book, the Savoy Cocktail Book by Harry Craddock. Most people point to this cocktail book as it being sort of the definitive version of this cocktail. And it is just 1-to-1 Dubonnet and Gin, no bitters. And this is the one that most people make. If you go into a bar and ask for Dubonnet and Gin or a Zaza, you're probably going to get this one. But of course, we're not going to stir this one. This one, we're going to shake. And moving to the shake is something that we see in later cocktail books. This is bottoms up from the 1950s. Same recipe, and you're going to shake it. I looked for it. Initially, I thought because this was Queen Elizabeth's favorite drink and the Queen Mum's favorite drink, I had assumed that it would be in this cocktail book from 1937, the Café Royal. And this is the Coronation edition, published in 1937, but it's not in here. Well, it is in here. It's in the back section that they call, what do they call it? The supplementary list. It's kind of the also-ran list. They say, these are cocktails that we just didn't have space for. If you're interested in them, you can find recipes elsewhere. And that's where the Zaza is in this cocktail book. We'll talk more about some other variations, but first I'm going to ice these cocktails so that we can taste them. So I'm going to ice and stir these one at a time so they don't get over diluted. And into a chilled glass. And the last one gets a shake. And a double strain. Okay, so.
Hey,
Jules.
Glen, hi friends.
This is the Zaza.
Zaza. Okay.
We've done it 3 different ways,
Clearly.
showing the progression through the years. Although there's one more that I may make as we're standing here tasting it.
The next one needs a big goblet.
It needs a goblet or a chalice. I'm all out of chalices, so we might use a goblet. So this is the first printed version of this cocktail that I can find from 1906, from a book, Lewis's Mixed Drinks. I know people are going to say, but Glen, that's Louis. Lewis was a German American, and everything I've read about the guy says that he pronounced his name Lewis. So I'm going to go with Lewis, but it could be Louis. You could be right. The second one is from 1914.
Okay.
And this one's from 1930.
Okay.
I didn't find it in the Coronation book from 1937. It was the Queen Mum's favorite tipple, and I thought it might be in there just as a nod since, the Coronation had just happened. But that wasn't the case.
Perhaps you don't talk about their tippling.
Maybe not. Maybe now that, it was so long ago we talk about it. But so I'm going to try this one first.
I was going to say, when do we get to start tasting?
Let's start tasting, and then we'll talk about different variations, because there's many variations. Okay, here we go. Interesting.
It's okay. No. That one's got like a... Oh.
Interesting. So this one, you don't like this one, do you? This.
No. I'm kind of indifferent to all of them.
So this one's
I don't like that one. Sorry.
So this one's 2 parts gin, 1 part beer.
Could it be the beer?
I think it's just because it's more gin heavy. The
fair enough.
The beer's not balancing it. And it has orange bitters. This one has Angostura bitters, 1-to-1 Angostura bitters. This one is 1-to-1, 1-to-1 with nothing else in it. I like this one the best.
I think I like this one better. If I was drinking one, I'm kind of indifferent to these two. I clearly didn't make the face I made. Like when I tried that one was like,
well,
that was not for me.
That first one, If we were to actually do this, there'd be 30 of these sitting in front of us.
By the time you get all the flavor
Some
combinations.
with beer, some with
And that's
Dubonnet,
it.
some with different gins. This could be completely different with a different gin.
In this moment, this recipe with this combination is not for me.
So the last one in the goblet,
And yes, good point. Different combination.
last one in the goblet is 1 part
Gin.
gin,
Okay.
2 parts Dubonnet, which is
Oh,
exact opposite of this one.
okay. And when did this recipe? Is this like a more?
This is a more recent recipe. Apparently, this is the one that Queen Elizabeth would drink every day before lunch.
Oh, this one.
Yes, and it gets a lemon put in. Now, Buckingham Palace tells me that I need to put 2 perfectly formed pieces of ice inside.
She's gonna get whatever ice we've got. I suspect.
I don't have.
She stopped. If she would have come by, maybe we would have made that effort. But,
I would have made 2 perfectly formed pieces of ice, and they're supposed to hold down the lemon wheel. Now,
Oh, that's brilliant. But apparently, you don't have the skills.
I don't have the skills.
But I like the idea of it holding down the lemon wheel, so it doesn't, smack
So it
you in
doesn't
the
smash
face.
into you. Now,
I'm
this
tasting
is
it
a
before it gets too
cocktail that
wet.
has a lot of variation to it. And so you can see it progresses through time, different proportions, and then it leaves out the bitters. Some of these have lemon in them earlier, a twist of lemon around the rim, or a twist of lemon as a garnish but not in the beverage. Some of them, like this from 1948, it says Zaza Cocktail, half Dubonnet, half gin. No other instruction whatsoever, no other mention of what should be in there. You get to this, it's even in the old Mr. Boston from the 1940s. But you get to this cocktail book, The Fine Art of Mixing Drinks by David Embry. This is a cocktail book where Mr. Embry sort of works on the premise that there are only so many mother cocktails, and every cocktail is a derivative of one of those 5 or 6 mother cocktails. He gets down to the Zaza, and he says the most common version of this drink is equal parts gin and Dubonnet decorated with a twist of lemon peel. A second version substitutes slow gin for the dry gin. A third version substitutes dry sherry for the gin. When we get into this Old Waldorf Bar Days book, it uses Old Tom gin. And so slow gin and Old Tom gin are sweet. And it would add another layer of sweetness to
That
it.
would make it a very sweet drink. Like even just that one is significantly sweeter than this one.
I like that. I like that. Now this is also, you start seeing this combination in the early 2020s as people become a little more health conscious. The 2-to-1 Dubonnet to dry gin lowers the alcohol content of the cocktail.
That's like a diet cookie.
It is like
I'm
a diet.
sorry.
It is like a diet cookie, but for people who still want to have a cocktail but they don't want all the alcohol, this sort of lowers the alcohol.
Yeah, they straight up, 3 ounces of alcohol.
Of alcohol
can be a
is
little bit
too much.
if it's.
So, have you ever had a Dubonnet and gin or a Zaza? And how do you put it together? What ingredients do you use? I think my favorite is this one from 1914, from this cocktail book just called Drinks.
I think if this was a little cooler, I would like it.
If it had 2 perfectly formed cubes of ice, it might be a better cocktail.
That it sat for just enough time. Now it's better now that it's a little cooler.
And I don't know if I covered this earlier because I've had so much stuff running through my brain. Dubonnet, or quinquina, is a fortified wine that uses cinchona bark as the bittering agent. It is vermouth adjacent, but not vermouth. But it's sort of in the same vein.
That's it.
I think that's it.
Okay.
That's a lot of books for a 2-ingredient, sometimes 3-ingredient, but mostly 2-ingredient
And that's
cocktail.
a lot of variations.
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't have to make them up this time.
No.
Someone already wrote them all
Somebody
out.
already did it. All of the variations are written out. So let me know down in the comments what you think of this cocktail. Let me know in the comments if you can find something earlier than 1906. Let me know in the comments just generally what you think. Thanks for stopping by. Oh no, not generally what you think. That's a bad idea.
Just about this drink.
Just about this cocktail. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.